Good morning, everybody. All right, we're continuing the halachos of loans, of halva. There's something called a heter iska, which is to say a way in which you're allowed to lend money with interest. It's a little bit beyond the scope exactly how this works, but the basic gist is that the lending of the money is an investment. That's the basic gist of how it's set up. So, Mashal, we have someone here who bought a house. So he took out a mortgage. Let's say it was a frum bank or a Jewish bank, like in Eretz Yisrael. So in one pshat, they're lending you money to buy a house. Pshat is they're investing together with you in the house. Now that is a very rough way to explain the concept of heter iska. Just that one should be aware that there is a concept of heter iska. And this is because people were refraining from lending money to other people, especially large sums of money. And Chazal wanted a way that people both would be able to borrow money and also be able to get return on their money. Now, the Chavetz Chaim, as we know, wrote a sefer Avas Chesed, codifying all the halachos of Ben Adam L'Chavero. He spends a lot of time talking about loans, and this is what he writes over here on page 22. Ve'ato nedaber ketzas odo samal ve'aravachim, someone who lends money for profit. Rishon l'kol yera, you have to make sure the heter iska is done properly. Whenever one has a mortgage with one of these from mortgage companies, so you scribble on a piece of paper, heter iska, you have to make sure it's done properly. Hopefully the company has some sort of long form heter iska in their offices, which they look at once in a while. So there won't be an isa ribis chas v'shalom. And he says a terrible thing, that the punishment of ribis is so great that Cholila could stop someone from coming back in Tchias HaMesim. And the proof of this is Yechezkel, if you remember, revived people in Bikas Dura. Chazal tell us, based on a pasuk, that there was one person who didn't get revived. Why not? Because he engaged in the Easter of Ribis. And therefore, someone who engages in taking interest, it's like he's signing and sealing that he's kofer be'eloke Yisrael, because he doesn't trust that there's other ways to make money. And therefore, why should he get revived? Why should HaKadosh Baruch Hu bring him back in Tchias HaMesim if he doesn't even believe in the power of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? So that's Aleph, someone who engages in investments, let's call it. Let's use a nice word. You have to make sure there's a proper heter iska. It is incredibly common today. There's many Jewish from mortgage companies. There's many investment schemes in which from people put their money into. And we have to be careful that it's done properly with the heter iska. That's Aleph. Beis, you need to learn the halachos of Yeridea, Shulchan Aruch, about the halachos of ribis. Okay. Then you also need to know the following thing. The gam hu lo niftar mi mitzvah sasei. Hagam, one is allowed to lend money and collect profit using the mechanism of a heter iska. That doesn't exempt us from the positive commandment of lending money for free. The idea is not chas v'shalom that a person shouldn't lend any money. A person is also obligated in the mitzvah of gemilas chasadim for free. And the reality is that when people want to borrow money from you with interest, let's say there's from people engaged in this in hard money lending or stam, lending money for people to invest in businesses and properties, it's very hard to overcome our natural inclination. Why should I give you $100,000 for free if I can make money in a mutardik way using a heter iska on that $100,000? Says the Chavetz Chaim Alkeino Eitzayut. So what is the practical advice? Tell you what the practical advice is. To open up a bank account and put some money in that bank account, which will be dedicated for gemilas chasadim, for lending money without interest. And then, psychologically, and he explains this, it's like it's not your money already. You've already put it aside. You take some money and you set it aside. This is the money I'm going to do gemilas chesed without interest, without any type of heter iska. The gam, and furthermore, is chazek ma'od b'shar inyanei chesed. You should strengthen yourselves in other matters of chesed. Okay. However, what's interesting is that there is a mitzvah in lending money even with a heter miska. It's not the mitzvah of Kesef Talveh, but it is the mitzvah. And let's discuss this on page 24. Now, the basis of heter iska is based on an idea, and it's a lot more complicated than I'm explaining, even more detailed than I start out with, that you lend money to someone with what's called mechzas halva, mechzas schar. You lend money to someone 50% a loan, 50% of an investment. Now, what is the difference in English between investment and a loan? The difference is if I give you $100,000 to invest for me, and your business goes belly up, so then I don't have $100,000 anymore. If I give you $100,000 as a loan to invest in your business, then I get the $100,000 back. So therefore, if I want to couch and hedge my risks, and I'm going to lend you $100,000, the best thing I should do is split it. I'll say $50,000 will be a loan, and $50,000 will be an investment. In which case, I'm sharing the risk, and I'm getting to share the reward. Because of the straight out loan, you have no risk, but you have you have no reward, but you have lots of risk. You have no risk. No reward, no risk. With an investment, you have lots of reward, but you also have a lot of risk. So there is a mitzvah, even though it's not the mitzvah of halva, to lend money in what's called an iska, in an investment strategy. And the reason why there's a mitzvah is that fulfills the mitzvah of v'achzaktabo. We have a mitzvah in Parshas Bahar, it's a pasuk in Parshas Bahar, that when you see someone shaky, you're supposed to strengthen him that he doesn't fall into poverty. V'achzaktabo. And you'll strengthen him. And also, the reality is that when I give someone money, that's not a complete loan, but it's partially an investment strategy, I'm more likely to give them more money. Now, the reality is, he explains, that the concept of heter iska was much better in the times of the Gemara than it is today, because they taka split the profits and split the risk. Plus, this is a little bit of a plus, which you need to understand, the person who's giving the money has to give a nominal amount to the recipient, to the borrower. Now, why is that important? Let's think of this logically. If I give you $100,000 and I say half is a loan, which means 50 grand, you got to get back to me no matter what happens to your business. And 50 grand is an investment, which means if on the $100,000 there comes 110, so I'm going to get back 105 and you'll get to keep 5. Everybody follow me why that is? Because we're going to 50% of the 100,000, namely $50,000 a loan, that comes back to me. And the 50% is an investment, which means I only get profit on the 50%. So if I give you 100 and the business makes 110, I get back 105. I get back my principal, because the loan part was a principal. The investment part will have made more than the investment, so I certainly get my principal. And then we're going to split the reward. If the business would only make, if the business fell, and we wound up with $90,000, right? So I gave you 100, and it turned out to be 90. So what's going to happen? Well, 50 I get back straight away because that was a loan. The loss was $10,000. So we're going to split the loss. So I'll get back 35 of the 90.
40.
No. No. Again, 90 is $90,000. So $50,000 I get back directly because half was a loan. The 40 was an investment. The investment lost $10,000. I take half the loss. I get back $35,000. I'll get back $85,000. Okay?
Assuming that there's any assets left.
Okay, this is a simple case. However, the halacha is that the investor, it's an important thing to know, has to pay a few dollars to the recipient. Why? Because otherwise, listen to me for a minute, the mere fact that he is investing, he's working to invest my $50,000. At the same time where he got a loan of $50,000, the tircha, the trouble on the half that's an investment, that in and of itself is ribis on the $50,000. Lamashal, I lend you $50,000. I say you don't have to give me back any interest, but I need to live in your house the next month for free. That's ribis. That's ribis. The living in the house for free is interest on $50,000. I'm going to give you $50,000, and in return, you'll shut my groceries in for the next month. That's ribis. So, if the recipient, let's call him, if the recipient is going to work on the $50,000 that is mine, that he's investing for me, at the same time that he's getting a $50,000 loan, so then for the $50,000 loan, he's not only has to be toreach, has to work for his $50,000, he has to work for my $50,000. That was the deal. In order for it not to be ribis on the $50,000 of the loan, I need to pay him a few dollars for the bother. It's a fascinating thing. You could think about it. It's important to understand this. This is the underpinnings of all heter iska, but it works a little bit differently today. Okay. We'll stop here because we started late. I wish everybody a truly wonderful Shabbos Kodesh.